Hey there guys, we now have the information for Ruin Explorer Nora, and in this video I'm going to be taking a look at the unit. We're going to be going over her kit, and I'll be giving you my initial impressions on the unit. Also, just a quick reminder that the global team did confirm that her fragments will be in the shop tomorrow. So, just a reminder for that. Anyway, so some of this unit we already knew about from the live stream, etc. We know she's a mage. She's a physical typed mage, so she won't be great on Dark Vision's mage stages, but that's really not that big a deal in my opinion. All right, so her stats, she has pretty decent magic stat. It's not quite on the level of premium units. After stat pots, she'll have 601 base magic. Most premiums have about 625, usually, not always. But yeah, it's still pretty decent. She does have above average HP stats, which is kind of nice. She does have a lot of resist all, and she's immune to a lot of the critical status effects, so pretty nice there. Her weapon selection, she does have rod access, although you're probably not going to use that very often. She'll mostly be dual wielding her fist. And then as far as the equipment goes, pretty standard stuff. For a magical unit, you usually want, robes or clothing. And then actually she can't use helms, which is a little unfortunate. I'm just realizing that. So wearing the Clash of Wills helm, if you want to go in like maximum possible magic, that will take a materia slot. So that's kind of unfortunate. Would have been nice if she had helm access, but okay. And she does have black and green affinity for magic, which is kind of nice. And as far as her kit goes, so a decent amount of cooldowns. This one, living for 2. These are all on a 5-turn cooldown. This one does cost 20 of her LB gauge, which is 1/3 of it. She's got a 60 size LB gauge. This one is mostly going to be used for the morale gain. So if you don't need the morale, for the most part, you're probably not going to use this. It does give her, auto revive and a barrier, but that's usually the thing that your tank or your healer is taking care of. You don't want the unit to be having to provide that for themselves, but she can if she wants to. But 1500 morale on a cooldown, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. Use that on turn 1, then forget about it. So real nice. She's got 2 of these killer buffs. So 250 beast or machine killer to herself, 150 AoE, and then only physical mitigation to beast and machine. I'm not really sure why it's only physical mitigation instead of physical and magical, but yeah, maybe that's like a hint the Clash of Wills boss will be hitting the party very hard with uncoverable physical. I don't know, but there you go. Anyway, let's see here. Oh, by the way, most of her skills do refill her LB gauge. So it's kind of like Dwayne, where the rotation is. You would use like the LB, then you would use some skills to refill, then you can go again. Ibarra has that, Dwayne has that, a whole bunch of units have that, so she has the same thing. She does have some imbues and imperils, so she has a secondary of fire. So she can imbue herself with fire, 130 imperil, 45 amplify, and then lightning, slightly better. 135 in peril and 50 amplify to herself, which is honestly a little lower than I would have liked. Most units these days have like or most global units, I should say, not most units. Most global units have a 60% personal amplify to their primary element. I'm not sure why hers is only 50, considering lightning is her primary. It should be 60 in my opinion, so this is actually a little bit low. I'm not sure why, but okay. And here is one of the big things for her, is she has on demand a imperil field to enemies to fire and lightning by 35%, which is decent. It's not the best. Secura's field is better for lightning. That's a 50% imperil field. By memory, I don't think anyone imperils fire field better than her. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments, but I think Tyvis and Yesh are also 35. I think Ingus is 35 fire imperil. Lena is only 25. So I think she's tied for the other good fire imperil fields. If I'm forgetting someone, let me know in the comments. But there you go. She does have this. It's 30 hits. I would assume it's Extreme Nova frames. It doesn't say here. but it's single cast when dual wield, and it cannot be multicast. There's 2 skills excluded from multicast, and this is one of them. So, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Go back. Okay, yeah. So this is probably going to be, for the most part, if I would guess, just used for support chaining, not really like our primary damage. And here's her on-demand chaining skill. It increases accuracy, is small spirit break. Basically, it's 700x modifier in Clash of Wills, and she can quad cast it. So that's a 2800 on-demand chaining, and she does have mod boost in her kit. We'll come back to that in a minute, but she does have up to 100x modifier for abilities. So that'd be 3200 chaining, which is decent. It's on demand. It's pretty good. And she does have the the 8 times chain cap, which is real nice. So it's pretty good on demand damage in Clash of Wills. The problem is it would be quad casting for the max amount, and quad bolting strike is certainly not a common chain frame. Like, support units can do it and all. You can do it with Ayaka's card, that kind of stuff. But most of the time you're not gonna be having like a secondary unit quadding bolting strike other than like Ayaka. And these elements don't go together. Like, Ayaka doesn't have fire or lightning at all in her kit, so you're probably not putting them on a team together usually. And as far as her multicast, she does have permanent on-demand quad and triple cast, which is kind of nice. So you can either triple cast it or quad cast it. Pretty good. And this skill is her 150 Amplify. Not much special here. 150 Thunder Amp, and then Focus. Now, I will mention, this is the only source of focus in her kit. Just like Cleome. I don't know why Global likes to do this foolishness, but if you want to use her on like a second burst later in the fight, you're going to have to give her an external source of focus, either like that Vision card, Knight of Gift Giving, Dark Range, Trust Mastery, something like that. But yeah, she only has one source of focus naturally in her kit, so that's really unfortunate. But if you did pull the Knight of Gift Giving card, that'll be a great card on her, because that'll give you a focus on like a really short cooldown. A 1-stack focus, so perfect. But yeah, for herself, only has one option. And then she has this Magnus. This is very similar to Dwayne's Magnus. It's not a tag chain, though. It cannot be multicast, but it is going to be her highest damage, I think, in Dark Visions. Now, her damage in Dark Visions is not super great. I'll show you the calculations I did, the early calculations, in a minute. But it's okay. But in Clash of Wills, she'll be doing her LB for her main damage. But there you go. It is triple bolting strike, 999 AoE, and here's the breakdown. And again, it does get modifier boost from her LB, I think. Actually, I don't think it does, because it's not morale. I'll have to fix that on my sheet, so I'll do that in a minute. But anyway, let's go real quick to her LB. So her normal LB is a 40% Fist in Peril. It's AoE Extreme Nova frames, not tag chaining. Physical type, non-elemental, meaning you can imbue it with any element you want. It does 230 in Dark Visions, and then at max morale, 480 modifier. And then her SLB is similar to Dwayne's with the cool buffing. So at max morale, this will give you a 50x modifier to all morale damage in Clash of Wills. Morale limit burst in Clash of Wills for your whole party, including her. So her LB will become 530x in Clash of Wills at max morale after the SLB. Stat buff for the party, only 300. I wish it was higher, but it's better than nothing. And then it'll boost her modifier for her skills by 100x per cast. And remember, she does have quad cast. So this is basically about 400x more modifier to her skills. And it'll recharge her Historia skill, which is this Magnus right here. But this is not morale scaling, so that will not get a modifier boost. I have to fix that on my spreadsheet. Whoopsie. So what's better, actually? Let me look. So what is this, 2250 for this one versus quad casting? This would be, oh wow, yeah, Enigma Wave is actually more damage than her Magnus. That seems like an oversight. Well, in Clash of Wills, because Clash of Wills, obviously out of Clash of Wills, it'd be 1,000. Yeah, so this is better in Dark Visions, but it's pretty low in Dark Visions. Wow. Yeah, she's not a great Dark Visions unit, I don't feel like. Her leader skill is 300 to class units. We knew that already. She does have all the good fire and thunder skills, magic in her kit. She does have AoE imbue for the party with a 25 fire amp and a 35 lightning amp. So not the best, but okay as a backup. And then her passives. So at EX2, she'll auto-cast this ability. It'll be a stat buff for herself, a resist buff for herself only. She's very like selfish other than the killers. Automatically imperils enemies, and then it fills her LB gauge to the maximum. At EX3, she gets some passive stats, chain speed. Now this I'm not super happy about. She only gets chain speed at EX3. That's kind of, that's irritating for an 8 times chainer. It's not crippling or anything, but it would be nice if she had it at EX2. I think Dwayne is overall a better unit than her, honestly speaking. But it's, at EX3 you get it. And then at EX3, she'll auto-cast 500 morale per turn, which is pretty nice. She does have the 8 times chain cap while dual wielding. We knew that already. A little bit of camouflage, 50 to both evasions, pretty nice. In Clash of Wills content only, she can cast this on demand. A 200% AoE accuracy buff. That is the highest in the game. The next highest is 100. So we don't know if it's going to be required in Clash of Wills or not. Once Clash of Wills open, we'll see. But that does seem excessively high. I'm not sure why it's so high. I mean, nice for her, but if the Clash boss is tuned around that, there's no alternative because the next best is only 100. We'll have to see that tomorrow. And then accuracy down 30%. That's pretty low. We're used to 50, but I guess it's better than nothing. It's free. The other passives, stat passives, etc. Nothing really special here. She does have 150 total LB damage, which is pretty nice. And she has 325 true dual wield. So you'll cap her true dual wield with either a single copy of her Trust Mastery, or slightly better would be Konshira's STMR. So that's pretty nice. Or her Vision card will cap her out totally. Double Guts with a bigger HP lock, so triple Guts if you gear for it. Very, very nice. And then here is her normal attack. Her normal attack is upgraded to Veteran Explorer. It's an AoE 100% Omni Killer buff. Killer buff to the whole party, but it's only for a single turn. Meaning you have to either waste her entire turn to apply it by using a normal attack, or give her a counterattack item so she counters with this on the kill turn, which can be a little bit RNG, but it's an option. And then other than that, killers to 6 of the races at 200, stop and charm immunity, and some flat stats. So that's her whole kit. So overall, the unit seems strong, and I do plan to pull for her. That being said, like I said a few minutes ago, I think Dwayne is overall more valuable than her. Dwayne is a tag chainer. Dwayne, I guess really other than that, Dwayne is a tag chainer. It's kind of mostly the main reason. But I personally value Dwayne's tag chaining really highly. Dwayne does have a higher personal... I'm 99% sure. What was his name again? Make sure I'm not just, lying to you guys. I'm pretty sure his personal amplify is 60%. It is. Yes, he increases fire by 60% on demand for Dwayne. For 5 turns, on demand, you can recast it. It can't be dispelled anyway, so there you go. On the other hand, hers is actually a cooldown even. Yeah, this is a big downgrade here. Her amplify it can't be dispelled, so the cooldown part isn't that big a deal, but, well, I guess if it got dispelled, you could on demand re-imbue with this, and then the amplify cannot be dispelled, so that's good. So it's not crippling, but this is one of those things where you scratch your head and you're like, but why? But why? Why just not make it like Dwayne's, just on demand, 60% good to go? What is the point of adding this? What is the point of adding this extra irritation of being a cooldown and really? Come on, what was that necessary? I don't know. So the unit seems decent. The only thing I'm seeing that's a really big deal is the 200 physical accuracy buff, and how big a deal that is going to be is something we can't predict until the boss is available. So if, Sylvie's accuracy buff is good enough for the boss, then great. Then Nora isn't really doing anything unique here. And as far as damage goes, okay, so here is Nora's Dark Vision's damage. And again, I calculated this wrong. I added Nora's modifier buff to her Magnus, but it actually does not apply. So when this video is over, I'll go ahead and update this. But yeah, Nora's actually going to be even lower. So her Dark Vision's damage is really not that good. She's really not good in Dark Visions. She might be worth a slot on a Thunder team because she does have a 150 Thunder Amplify, and the only ones above her would be Cloud and Zack. So I guess she would be like the number 3 slot on a Thunder team. But anyway, yeah, there you go. But as far as Clash of Wills, so here is some Clash of Wills calculations, not including Nora's modifier buff, because her modifier buff, that 50x to the party, is a whole party-wide buff. So I'm kind of on the fence what I should do about my spreadsheet, because this is the calculations with no one having Nora's buff. This is the calculations with everyone having Nora's buff. Everyone that uses a limit burst, because obviously it doesn't apply to Rain's morale chain, only LBs. So let me know in the comments, what do you guys think is the more fair way to do damage calculations? Because giving the modifier buff to only Nora and no one else doesn't feel fair in the relation to the calculations. It's kind of like a field. Like, for example, like giving Esther's field to only Esther and no one else, but it's actually buffing the entire party. So I'm not sure how to do it. So I'll talk to people, get some opinions. But here's the calculations with Nora with no one having her buff, and then with everyone having her buff. But the one thing I'm not going to do is give the modifier buff to only Nora and no one else, because that would just really throw things out of proportion. Because it would unfairly skew Nora higher than the others when they're also getting the buff if you're using Nora. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so final verdict on Nora. I don't know. She's mid-tier. She's okay. I don't think she's like a must-have absolute pull. I think Dwayne. I do think Dwayne might be slightly, at least me personally. I kind of like Dwayne a little bit better than Nora. Mostly because of the tag. So the tag chain is just so good. Just so good. I love tag chainers. Nora does have fields, does have the accuracy buff. Oh, and Dwayne also has, I should mention, Dwayne has this amazing cap breaking buff for Clash of Wills, whereas Nora, really, not a whole lot going on with Nora. I don't know. I am still going to pull for her. I'm definitely going to pull, because she seems good. She seems good, just not great, I would say. Her damage is fine. She buffs the party. She has some useful stuff, like the accuracy buff may or may not be a big deal. We'll find that out in a few hours. I don't know. Make your own decision. So she's an average unit. She's not bad at all, but I don't think she's great either. Kind of a mid-tier. So there's my thoughts. Hope it helps. I'll be live streaming Clash of Wills tomorrow, so you can watch me, try the boss. See you then.